Get it, nerds. We're relaxing and playing Victoria 3. We're just out here chilling. We got a lot of construction to do, and, well, not that much construction, actually. I'm just going to go ahead and unpause us here. We seem to have something of a deficit. I feel like that's a lot bigger than it was last time. But we're just relaxing and letting our interest groups adjust to the new place that we're living at, because I feel like that's going to be our primary thing now that we have a suffrage system. So I wanted to touch base a little bit about the market. I sort goods by market price, and this doesn't sort it by market price. This sorts it by market price relative to the default price for the good. And I think that's critically important, because when you've got things like tools and iron that are very expensive, those interfere with industrial development. So you need to... in fact, we've got a shortage of tools here. And that's not great. So let's go ahead and tick this up to a higher priority. Because this will create a problem. When you have a shortage like this is the shortage indicator. What's happening is you have buildings that are not getting tools at all, and those buildings are losing throughput. And their lost throughput is going to go up by 1% every week, I believe, is how it goes. But with their throughput going down, the number of buy orders goes down, and the shortage goes away. So it only happens like that if there's a big problem. So basically, this indicator is what's going to show you the price relative to the base price. When an item is at its base price, you're going to see one full stack of coins. Or one full stack of coins and one coin at the bottom there. So these items are all basically at their base price. This is hardwoods, small arms, dyes, sugar, and mana wars. These are all right at their base price for their type of good. And these goods don't all have the same base price. Hardwoods is about, I think, 40 actually, and mana wars is 70, but those are holding stable there. When a thing gets very expensive, the coins turn gold. When it gets very cheap, they turn copper, and that's what that's meant to indicate. Right now, I just have very cheap oil. Almost nobody is using oil to heat their homes in Sweden at this time. In this our very own moment in history. So that's a little bit more about the market and how it works. So when I build buildings, I virtually always am going to be building buildings in order to reduce the price of these expensive goods, because these expensive goods... Ooh, excellent. Education increase. Because these expensive goods are things that either slow up your industrial development or make it harder for your industry to operate productively, or... if they're goods like staple goods that are mostly consumed by pops, like luxury clothes and clothes, or things like groceries, those hold down your standard of living, and you want your standard of living to go up, or at least I want my standard of living to go up, because I'm playing a nice, relaxed city building society, and my primary job as a ruler is to make sure that my standard of living continues to increase, which it's increased a little bit over time, but I want it to increase more, because that's my primary calling as a ruler. I know that a lot of my industrial goods here are tight, in part because I just did an expansion of the construction industry last session. So, for example, since I'm using iron frame construction, iron is going to be very expensive. The next upgrade is going to be steel frame construction, and that's going to drop the price of iron significantly. As you can see, 600 of my iron in my market is being used by construction sectors, so that's going to go down to 0, dropping the demand significantly. But, in turn, I'm going to be using a ton of steel, and that's going to be very hard on my relatively meager steel mills compared to my iron mines. On top of that, I'm going to need to use glass for construction. And virtually all of my glass, as you can see here, is being consumed by either my urban centers or my food industries or my POPs. And once construction sectors are using glass, that's going to be very expensive for me. Just to go over the goods, because I realized I hadn't actually, I've been relying on these icons. And I know what the icons look like, but you don't necessarily know that. And you can kind of guess, but only kind of. So, I'm just going to go through them very briefly. We got ammunition. These are bullets here. We got artillery, clippers. These are small ships. Clothes, coal. I got them in alphabetical order to make it easier. Coal, dyes. These are engines. There's a little steam engine here. A little locomotive here. Explosives, fabric, fertilizer, fine art. Moving right down here, we have fish, furniture, glass, grain, groceries, hardwood, iron, lead. These two are pretty close visually, but lead's got the little lead balls that you make into bullets. Liquor, luxury clothes, luxury furniture. Moving down a little bit more. Man-o'-wars, meat, oil, paper, porcelain, services, silk, small arms, steel, sugar, sulfur, and tools. Oh, we got a few more. Tools, transit. This is a train ticket right here. Transit, wine, and wood. Wood and hardwood are separated. So we got wood down here and hardwood up here. But I'm always going to keep them sorted by market price because, to me, the development needs to go to the things that have the highest market price. That's my general take on how this should be handled. And we got that tooling workshop built. That's very good. Okay, let's continue playing music, please. There's a big now that there's a music player, there's a big blank spot at the end of Glory to the Queen, and I don't know if I mentioned it before, but it's not my favorite. Let's go ahead and queue up another, I think, two tooling workshops. I'm trying to figure out where I want to put them. I'm always inclined. I did listen to some pronunciation guides, so I don't know how accurate these are, but I'm hoping they're better than what I was doing before. I'm always inclined to develop Jutland because that's got a high population and a lot of place for industry. With that having been said, though, I don't want to actually concentrate my industries too much because I don't want to put my people in a situation. Ooh, sorry. I just got this political movement, so I want to react to that in a second. But I just want to say I don't want to concentrate my industry too much because I don't want to create states that have very little immigration pull. I want to have a fairly even immigration pull across all my states so that I can get as many people immigrating as possible. It's going to be a bigger factor later on in the game, but for now, I just want to go through my states, and what I'm aiming to look at is my level of urban centers, because I want to keep my states at relatively even urbanization. So Schleswig-Holstein is at 2, Jutland is at 2, Zealand 3, Scania 3, Jutland 4, Svealand 8, and Norland 2. So Norland, Jutland, Schleswig-Holstein, Zealand, and Scania are all good candidates. So where have I got? Scania is pretty okay for employed population. Zealand is still a little bit having a hard time with unemployment, but we don't have turmoil there anymore, so that's very good. And it might be good for me to kind of buffer that with putting a little bit more industry here. Jutland, you have 50k unemployed, Schleswig-Holstein 90k unemployed. I'm going to put standard of living is a little different in these two states. I don't know why that is. I'm going to go ahead and put a couple more tooling factories, tooling workshops in Jutland. So we'll do that. But we do have a movement to go to census suffrage, and I think we're going to do that because census suffrage is just a great place to be right now. No one's going to be radicalized from this change. So, yeah, I think that's go. So we're going to go ahead and unpause that. So we're expanding the franchise significantly, but there's no movement to oppose it currently. This means it has a very high success and advance chance. And on top of that, we're going to get 318k individuals becoming loyalists once this is completed. I know the previous one had something like 400k individuals becoming loyalists, and obviously that didn't happen. But we did lose a bunch of radicals the last time I successfully completed a movement and fulfilled their demands. So, oh my goodness. There are many people opposing wealth voting, but oh no, it's got a very high stall chance. Well, hopefully we'll be able to do it. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Oof, that's a lot of radicals. You guys are not, the industrialists are not in the government. So once again, because the industrialists are plutocratic, they dislike any kind of attempt at increasing the franchise because they think they're the wealthy and they should be the ones in charge. With that having been said, though, radicalism for this movement is very low, and because these interest groups are primarily very happy with me, the industrialists are only at -1, the Church for Sweden's only at -2, and the landowner -3, and the landowners are only at -2. I really don't see any of them becoming a problem in me increasing the franchise. So I think we're basically in the clear on this. We're just working to get a couple more government administrations built, and that'll really help with our overall bureaucracy. And after that, I think it might be time for me to finish out increasing building levels. I say as I queue up an additional paper mill. Let's put this in Norland. Again, trying to put more industry in my more rural areas. This will eventually weaken my rural folk, but because I'm about to put in census suffrage, that's going to make them significantly stronger the next time we have an election. So, to explain the difference between wealth voting and census voting, wealth voting is wealthy citizens are granted a vote, men of more wealth are granted more votes. I don't know if that's supposed to be technically how the franchise is set up. I certainly don't think it's how it's built mechanically in the game. Census suffrage, literate men of a particular status are given the vote. So the big difference is this one sets a wealth threshold of voting of 25, this one of 15. So if we look at our standard of living, you'll note that we have an upper stratum averaging at 39.1 standard of living, which means virtually our entire upper stratum is going to be able to vote in our current franchise law, but our middle stratum is only a very small number of them are going to be able to vote. I don't know what the standard deviation of this piece of information is. Excuse me, so sorry. But I know it's not huge. I know we only have 3.4% of them here that are below the minimum expected, which is 14.6, and that is about 7 below our secure our average here. So with that kind of math, I'm just going to guess that if we only need to go up by 3.5, that's about half as high. So I'm guessing we're going to have about 9% that are above the standard of living threshold. In any case, that are above the 25 threshold needed to vote under wealth voting. In any case, if we bring the threshold down to 15, that means virtually our entire middle stratum is going to get the vote. And that's going to be very good. We're going to expand the franchise significantly. Also, some of the lower stratum will probably get the vote. Probably not many, but some. With universal suffrage, you have no limits on voting. But With census suffrage, you have some. So let's see what we get with census suffrage. Backroom dealings exposed. Oh, I dislike this. So, prominent members of the intelligentsia, outspoken supporters of census suffrage, and close allies of Neil Samuel Funk have been exposed in a corruption scandal, having exchanged political favors for personal, quote-unquote, gifts. What is the chief end of man? To get rich. In what way? Dishonestly if we can, honestly if we must. So our options are such as the nature of politics. That gives him a big popularity reduction, and he's our leader of the intelligentsia. And it reduces my enactment chance by 15%. That's very bad. Throw them to the wolves. We must clean up this mess. This reduces enactment chance by 10% and reduces bureaucracy by 5%. I can take the bureaucracy loss, but the enactment chance, I really don't want to sacrifice that. On the other hand, we can derive some benefit from participating ourselves. This gets us one setback. But we'll keep our 39%. This is the only way to go forward without losing any percent. I think it's actually worth it. Our chances are quite high with this. We have a 0% debate chance. That's really interesting. I'm going to try this. I might live to regret that, but for now, we're working on it. Let's see. So give me an import route for wood. That's very good. I'm more than happy to have other countries purchasing our lovely Swedish wood. That is exactly what we want. Let's see. Market's doing pretty okay. Some of our more expensive goods went down in price as our numbers of buildings are getting built. Remember, we have the capitalists building up a significant amount of industry over here. And we have this government administration about to come online. So those are going up. So let's go ahead and start taking up our medical investment. We already have education and law enforcement at maximum. Am I going to get more? Golly, this is producing so much radicalism. I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. It's doing really well with radicals. Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Let's see. And obviously that government building increased our costs by a little bit. Let me see. We're at 500 paper being produced to 680 being used, and we actually have. We're going to get 70 paper per level, but we do have a trade route for paper. We do have a trade route for paper, which means that theoretically, the higher this gets, the more paper will be imported by whoever it is that's importing paper. So I'm actually inclined to do more constructing paper mills. I know I'm kind of treating the government, the government reserves here as a slush fund for over constructing, but I think the investment is worth it. With that having been said, there is a lot of money in the investment pool, so I might just try to. I might just build one actually, and let the private sector use the rest while I build up some kind of. While I build up more of a reserve. Actually, I think that's going to be where I'm going to go with this. I'm going to finish out these factories. I'm going to build this one more paper mill to increase my, to bring the price of paper down just a hair. And then we'll stop building for now. I'll let the private sector take over. We'll drain a bunch of this investment pool because there's so much money in the investment pool. 6.4 million. We'll let that drain for a while as we build up the government reserves. And then we'll get going. So, come on, get us an advance. Get us a success since the suffrage, you can do it. Or at least not something so bad as a setback. See, now I'm regretting my decision, but keeping percentage high is so important with this, the new process in the current patch. The old authority. Alright. Census suffrage reform threatens the power held by many leading figures in Sweden, some of whom are using political connections they have to obstruct its passage. Between you and me, there are far too many high-minded idealists involved in this. They find something noble in giving up their own influence, spreading it to the masses like alms to the poor. Perhaps they think it will save their souls or their legacies. I'm more practically inclined. I'm concerned with the immediate future of myself and my friends. I can count on you among those. Can't I? They must be ousted from their positions if they try to stop the new law. One setback. Oof. And a bunch of radicals in the upper pops. In the upper stratum. Perhaps we can collaborate with them in the creation of a new system. I'm going to lose a bunch of enactment success chance. Stop getting stalls. Oh, this is really bad. This is terrible. I'm going to take another setback, and if ultimately we end up bailing on census suffrage, then it is what it is. Gosh, I was really hoping to go immediately there, but it is what it is. It's not the end of the world if we have to sit around at wealth suffrage for a while. It's just I don't love how our government's currently operating. I sure would like the government to be more legitimate, because having a contested government is not great. But we'll see. We'll see how things go. Let's see. We're about halfway to finishing out pan-nationalism. That's going to be good. I should figure out what I want to do after pan-nationalism. Central banking is obviously very important for a certain number of things. Let's see. I think we're good on society techs for now. Militarily, it would be really nice to have triage. Production-wise, we're also not in a great place. We're not doing terribly, but we're not in a great place. I think the thing that I want the most is probably steel frame construction. I would really like that. But that's tier 3, and I've still got quite a few in the tier 2 for society, so I think I'll wait on that. Instead, I think we'll queue in triage, and once that's done, we'll see where we are. Again, this is going to take another 2 years, so I'm not too unlucky. I'm really regretting taking these 2 setbacks. I really thought I was going to get at least one step into doing this once I did each of these. And I was really hoping to get to this before the next election. But I think that might be outside the realm of possibility at this point. We are into a national debt right now. It's not a tragedy. We're not necessarily having a problem. But these tooling workshops are needed in order to increase the efficiency of our market, our whole situation. Let's take a look at our average standard of living went up. That's very good. Let's take a look at what our pops need. So, lower stratum pops pay minus 1.8% compared to base price for their pop needs. That's generally very good. Biggest expenses are liquor, grain, and clothes. So let's take a look at what they're paying for. Yes, obviously here clothes you can see are quite expensive compared to their base price. Coal's pretty expensive compared to base price, but they're not spending much on coal. Yeah, I think it's clothes. I think clothes is the big one. So that's definitely... No, I'm going to resist the temptation to build more buildings because I need to accumulate a reserve backup or it's going to be a problem. That's just a fact. But our lower stratum are doing good. Let's take a look at our middle stratum. So we'll keep that on the back burner for now. Metal Stratum pays significantly more. Their primary expenses are wine, services, and clothes. They also spend quite a bit on liquor. That's to be expected. Clothes are good here. Logistics, excellent. So that'll let us go straight to triage afterward. Sorry, we're here in the secure pops. Quite a bit on luxury clothes. Luxury clothes are quite expensive. So increasing clothes output would be valuable for both of those, I would imagine. Well, not I'd imagine. I know, in fact. Luxury clothes are quite pricey. Knowledge of fieldworks is spreading to us. That's very good. Other than that, they pay quite a bit for porcelain, which means I could theoretically get some good work done getting more porcelain output. There's also a production tech that I could use to get my glassworks producing more porcelain, which would be nice for my country overall. And then I'm not necessarily worried about what my upper stratum pops are spending their money on. They've got so much of it. Yeah, they're buying a lot of services. They're buying a lot of luxury clothes and furniture, wine, porcelain. They buy most of my transportation, it looks like. Well, my fine art, obviously, they're going to buy. The upper stratum pops consume all of the fine art in the country. Yeah, I think I'm perfectly satisfied with that spread. Again, your upper stratum pops, you almost never need to worry about their standard of living. They're so wealthy that it's almost comical how little anything affects their standard of living. So we're good with that. I'm just going to let census suffrage tick up here. We're at 40%, so I'm really, really hoping for a win here. Oscar Bernadotte has been very good for the country, but slowly, again, once we push to move to being Scandinavia from being Sweden, we're going to end up moving him into a role of a more constitutional monarch, while the people's representatives take over actually running the government. That's going to be a policy. As far as the world is concerned, there's a war happening in Russia. Who are you at war with? Russia? You're at war with France. You're backing Haiti. You're keeping Haiti independent from France, or you're trying to. What's this war about? Yeah, France wants to take over Haiti. And apparently they're trying to get them to transfer the Grand Duchy of Finland. That sure would be interesting if the Grand Duchy of Finland became a French holding. Look, the dress goes awry. Ah. What was meant as a routine speech about the merits of census suffrage by Niels Samuel Funk has quickly devolved into a public relations disaster for the intelligentsia. Fumbling his way through a series of poorly presented talking points, Niels Samuel Funk's arguments have been viciously and convincingly picked apart by his political opponents. The question on everyone's lips now is merely if this mishap was due to the inherent failings of census suffrage, or can be chalked down to the political incompetence of the intelligentsia. Have I told you about my band, The Political Incompetence of the Intelligentsia? It's the fault of this poorly thought-through proposal. That reduces enactment chance by 15%, which is bad. Or, Niels Samuel Funk must take the blame for this setback. It only reduces it by 10% chance, but it makes the intelligentsia weaker. I'm going to go with this second one. And we'll see how it goes. I think the writing's on the wall here with census suffrage. I think the chances are high that we're going to just kind of degrade this this chance until it goes down to 0. I think that's an extremely likely outcome of what's going on here. I'm not going to lie to anyone. I think the likelihood of that is very high. But with that having been said, I also think I have a chance to get healthcare up even farther, and I'm going to do one more round of... No, I'm not. I'm going to resist temptation, and I'm going to build up a reserve. That's our plan. With that having been said, though, I have noticed that we have a new production method available for the arts academies, which is realist art. It's going to produce a little bit more art, and that's good. We also have the potential to switch from traditional patronage to either bourgeoisie patronage or independent artists. And I'm going to switch to independent artists. This means that our arts academies are going to hire primarily or entirely academics. And that's going to strengthen the intelligentsia, and that's going to be good for us. Doing all of the things that we need to do, because again, the intelligentsia are supported primarily by these academics. I think next session I'm going to talk a little bit more about interest group support and who has the tendencies to support what in terms of the total population. It's been about 2 years. How long have we been going? Yeah, we can go another year. So yeah, let's talk about interest group support. So in order to get this information, we go here. That tells us who supports it, but is it here? No. I know there's a way to get a breakdown of which... Yeah, here we go. So you can see in this tab, in interest group population, who of different professions is supporting this interest group. So we've got some capitalists and some aristocrats, but not many. But we've got a big number of academics and bureaucrats in the intelligentsia. Again, this isn't shocking. These are exactly the sort of people that tend to support that group. Small number of engineers. These are the icons, by the way. Capitalist, aristocrat, academic, bureaucrat, engineer, clerk, priest, shopkeeper, officer, laborer, soldier, farmer or serviceman, farmer, machinist, and peasant. So as you can see, we have a certain number of laborers to support the intelligentsia, about 10,000, but the primary base of the intelligentsia's support is about 12,000 academics, 11,000 bureaucrats, and 24,000 clerks. So to contrast here a little bit, let's look at the rural folk. Again, we have virtually negligible numbers of academics, shopkeepers, capitalists, bureaucrats, machinists, and engineers. We have a block of clerks here, about 4,000, but the overwhelming support base of the rural folk is 177,000 peasants, 21,000 farmers. Yes, got a success. 72,000 laborers. Yeah, there's health going up. And 72,000 laborers. So this party is a very populous party of very low wealth pops. So those are our two ruling parties. The other ones, we got the landowners. Again, the overwhelming majority of our aristocrats support the landowners. We have a good block of clergymen who support them too. We got some officers in here from the armed forces and negligible groups of others, including a small number of farmers. But again, the overwhelming majority of the political power is coming from these hugely wealthy aristocrats who are supporting this interest group. Church of Sweden, this is where most of our priests are going to be. 14,000 of them. Other than that, we have about 67,000 peasants. That's not shocking. 35,000 laborers. Both of these are very normal. A large block of the working class supports the Church of Sweden. That should not surprise anybody. And then the armed forces. Again, we have a smattering of interest groups, but the overwhelming majority of the support, we actually got a good, healthy block of laborers, 40,000 laborers and 15,000 peasants supporting the armed forces, as well as almost 7,000 clerks. That's a surprise. But again, the overwhelming power of this group comes from the 5,500 officers and the 22,000 servicemen that support this group, as well as a block of about 3,000 aristocrats. Again, these groups are not uniform, but the professions hew to them very closely. So finally, you've got your industrialists. The primary power block in the industrialists are the capitalists and the engineers. Those folks are basically form the entire industrialists group, and their wealth is enormous. Golly. Average standard of living for these capitalists is lavish. That's really striking. I don't think I've ever seen a standard of living that high for any interest group. We did just get mechanical tools, and that gives us some new options in terms of outputs. For one thing, we can go to mechanical workshops for our furniture, and that's going to output a lot more furniture. So we're definitely going to do that, because that's going to make things easier to live. For textile mills, we've got sewing machines accessible now. That's going to increase the price of dyes and fabric and tools. But I think we're going to do it. We're going to be able to bring in some more dyes, I think, from somewhere. Are we importing all the dyes we can import? I think we might be. Yeah, we're getting a lot of dyes from Britain, but we're continuing to import more dyes than we've been importing before, so hopefully, yeah, that's going to continue to increase. Or at least it has increased. So that's going to keep the price of dyes. I'm looking for that again. Am I sorted correctly? I'm sorted correctly now. This is going to keep the price of dyes relatively stable. The British market is just a phenomenally large market consisting of Great Britain, all of, well, let's go to markets. All of Canada, all of, well, not all of India, but a chunk of India, and then Australia and France. So it's a big market, and it's got a lot of people in it. Let's see. I hope I haven't done my industry too dirty. I'm sort of a little rough on coal. I think I might finish that out. It's going to reduce my overall surplus, but only for about 14 weeks. Investment pool is still going up, so I might actually, following this, just go ahead and build a few more construction industries. I don't have any construction industries in Scandinavia. I'm going to do that. We have another stall event. I wish that was not the case. Dissenters break ranks. To outside observers, the intelligentsia may appear firmly committed to the idea of census suffrage. But behind this facade of unity, discord has long festered. Now, a clique of dissenters have finally had enough and have officially broken with their fellow members over the issue of reform. For how long have we stood together? How many times have we lent a willing hand your way? Yet our own concerns are left unanswered, and our desires left unmet. If we shall not be heard here, we shall go elsewhere. Splitters, may the devil take them. This just makes things worse. Or loosen the purse strings. Perhaps we can lure some of them back. This does reduce enactment chance by less than this. Got 15% here, 10% here. And it reduces the party fragmentation from 15% to 5%, which is good. But it costs 1.9 thousand pounds a week. With that said, I'm going to go for it, because I want to keep my chances as high as I can. We might still be able to pull this through. If not, it's not a tragedy. If I can get... If I can get somebody who's got a better ideology here for this particular thing to control the industrialists, that would be... I would just be tickled by that. Let me see. Who's the current head of the industrialists? He's 56. His chances of dying are not very high. So I think Hierta's going to be here with us to stay for now. Again, it's not the end of the world if this doesn't end up working, but... Golly, so now I'm feeling silly. I was really hoping I could kind of clinch it early on, but now that I'm seeing where we are with the small decreases, I'm thinking actually I should have gone with decreases before. Because when you get a legislative failure event and get a setback, you often lose all the decreased chances. You often lose all the decreases in enactment chance, and I frankly probably should have gone with that. With that having been said, it's not that big of a deal. How's our iron? Iron's doing well. I'm about to increase our iron use, so I'm hoping we can tolerate that. Again, part of the reason I'm excited for steel frame buildings is because I would love to have to be more reliant on something that doesn't come directly out of the ground, because steel mills multiply the presence of iron very significantly. Oh, we're nearly there. 9 more weeks till pan-nationalism. That's going to change a lot of things, and we'll take a look at that once we're done with all this. It's going to be exciting, friends. I'm excited. We're going to be just in time for 1858. I think that'll be nice. Be a nice way to celebrate the new year. 7 weeks. So now we've got triage in the queue. Fieldworks is actually almost completely finished. Or, well, not almost completely finished. It's not almost completely finished, but it's very close. I think after that, production-wise, I would love to get dynamite. Chemical bleaching is also really nice. But mutual funds and steel frame construction are so very tempting. Let me see. I've only got one additional tier 2 at the end of triage, so I actually think that's where we're gonna go. Cool. It's gonna be the plan, and hopefully by the time we finish with triage, quinine will have sorted itself out. Actually, let's just throw quinine in the queue to finish it out, and then we'll do steel frame buildings. Come on, census suffrage. You can do it. I believe in you. I'm waiting with bated breath here. Oh, what? I just got a setback straight out with 18%? That's very sad. After a series of costly and embarrassing setbacks, the sitting Swedish government has decided to halt its pursuit of census suffrage. It will be some time before political will exists to try again. Defeat lingered in the air, along with the stench of burnt tobacco and spoiling liquor. Hopes crushed, ideas splintered, and desire spoiled. For better or for worse, the message was clear. Nobody wants census suffrage but the men in the room. A long, treacherous path lay ahead to re-ingratiate the idea. Alright, unfortunate and embarrassing. It happens. Anyway, I thought that satisfying the wealth voting people would de-radicalize a bunch of people who were mad about that, but apparently not. Well, now we're back to being, to having a bunch of radicals. Again, it's not the end of the world. I was really hoping we'd do it. But it is what it is. Pan-nationalism. Excellent. Oh my goodness. We have a new event. There's much to do. Psychological warfare. An affair between Jans Lagerbjørke and Matthias Almqvist's spouse has reached our ears, threatening to affect his public image if we don't destitute the general. I just fell on her, I swear. Goodness. Hans Lagerbjørke, this is one of our guys who is a dude that I like. Matthias Almqvist. That's the head of the rural folk. We still need a general, and these are personal matters. 90% chance of nothing happens. Matthias Almqvist gets syphilis, and they both get syphilis. And Matthias Almqvist gets a 10% chance of getting alcoholic. And the rural folk get salty. Or, we cannot trust a man like this. Matthias Almqvist gets syphilis. Jans Lagerbjørke will stand down. Do I have a better general I can bring in? Because I think I would much prefer having the people be happy than sad. So we've got a reformer over here, a romantic, and we've got an imperious authoritarian over here. We've got an industrialist, but a protectionist over here. I don't think that's... That said, I'm not hard up for generals, so I'm gonna get rid of him. I think that's fine. And we'll unpause here. As you can see, the Patriotic Party has been founded. Oh, they broke away from the Lantamana Party. They won't be happy in the government, but that's very sad. They could also form a government of the armed forces and the industrialists. That would be interesting. Partisan papers. Party-affiliated newspapers have been proliferating during this election season. Publications associated with the Lantamana party have been particularly effective in spreading the party line. Read all about it. Honest politicians attacked by shameless cowards. Leading candidate for office issues heartwarming appeal to the common man's heart. Man on campaign trail gets a puppy. Read all about it. Newspaper circulation is through the roof. Oh, I would love that. Or, Lantamana party has used the papers brilliantly. This gets the momentum, and I don't like them. So, we're going to get more paper. Inefficient agriculture. You've seen this before. We're going to go with basalting the industrialists. With that having been said, friends, it is 1858 now, but we have one more thing we need to do in order to end out the episode, and that's we need to form the country. Shazam. So now we're Scandinavia. We have a fancy new flag. We've annexed all of Norway's territory, and everything is gone just delightful. I'm just going to give us, I think we changed color over here. If I'm not mistaken, once the week turns over. Apparently not. That's okay. As you can see, we have a huge deficit in our finances. That's not great. But, yeah, we're going to see what's going on with the new country at the beginning of the next episode. But until then, I've had fun. I hope you've had fun. And we'll see you all on the other side.